WNBA, as you know, they're calling for players in the WNBA are calling for more money. They 9%, I believe, accordingly. They get 9% of total revenue compared to roughly 50% of the revenue of NBA players. Should they be getting a larger share of the revenue in the WNBA?
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver made an admission this month that nobody expected him to make. Standing in front of the cameras at NBC Sports headquarters, he acknowledged something that had been whispered about for months but never said out loud by someone in his position. The WNBA has serious relationship problems between its players and its leadership. Not just disagreements about money, mind you, but actual relationship issues that need to be repaired. And he said this while insisting that a new collective bargaining agreement would still get done. The question is, how did things get this bad, and can they really fix it in time? For those who might not follow the ins and outs of professional basketball labor negotiations, here's what you need to know. The WNBA's current contract with its players was set to expire on October 31st. Both sides agreed to a 30-day extension to keep talking, which means they now have until the end of November to hammer out a new deal. If they don't reach an agreement, the league could face a work stoppage, meaning no games, no draft, no free agency, nothing.
Adam Silver is knee-deep in what's happening in the WNBA. It is not by accident that one of his talking points on the eve of the NBA season, as the WNBA hurdles toward an October 31st deadline that even with an extension will not lead to a deal. It is not a coincidence.
Now, labor negotiations in professional sports are always tense. That's normal. What's not normal is what happened in late September, when Minnesota Lynx star Napheesa Collier stood up during her end-of-season press conference and read a prepared statement that essentially torched the entire WNBA leadership structure. She called it the worst leadership in the world. Not struggling leadership, not imperfect leadership, the worst in the world. And she backed it up with specific allegations about conversations she'd had with WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert that painted a picture of leadership that, according to Collier, doesn't value the players who actually make the league work. That's the backdrop against which Adam Silver made his comments. The NBA technically oversees the WNBA, so Silver has a vested interest in seeing this resolved. But his acknowledgement of relationship problems suggests this goes deeper than your typical contract dispute.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league.
Let's start with what Napheesa Collier actually said, because her words set off everything that followed. Collier didn't just complain about money or working conditions. She laid out specific conversations she'd reportedly had with Commissioner Engelbert back in February at an event for Unrivaled, the new women's basketball league that Collier co-founded with her husband. According to Collier, she asked Engelbert how the league planned to address the fact that young stars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Bueckers were driving massive revenue for the league while making relatively little money in their first 4 years. Engelbert's response, as Collier recounted it, was that Caitlin Clark should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything.
I am on the union for our CBA negotiations, like our collective bargaining negotiations for our league. And so for so long I felt like I saw what was going on behind closed doors. For so long we tried to have these conversations and move the needle in those meetings that we would have.
Collier also claimed that Engelbert told her players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that she got them. Now, Engelbert has not directly denied making those statements. She released a response saying she was disheartened by how Collier characterized their conversations, but she didn't say the characterization was wrong. That's an important distinction. When someone accuses you of saying something inflammatory, and you respond by saying you're disappointed in how they characterized what you said, rather than denying you said it, people notice. The timing of Collier's statement was particularly significant. It came just days before the start of the WNBA Finals between the Las Vegas Aces and the Phoenix Mercury. The finals drew strong viewership, the best in 25 years for the opening games.
I had an opportunity to listen to Fee, and I just want to say I was honestly disgusted by the comments that Cathy made. But at the same time, I'm very appreciative that we have people like Fee in our committee of our Players Association representing us, because that's what we're going to have to continue to make.
But the story everyone was talking about wasn't A'ja Wilson's dominance or the Aces' championship run. It was the civil war brewing between the players and the league office. 2 days after Collier's statement, Caitlin Clark held her own exit interview with the Indiana Fever. Clark had been dealing with injuries throughout the season and hadn't spoken to the media in months, so people were curious how she'd respond. She was diplomatic, but clear. She said Collier made a lot of very valid points, and she emphasized that this moment represents the biggest opportunity in WNBA history. Everyone in a position of power, she said, including herself, has a responsibility to make sure the league is in a great place going forward. What made Clark's response particularly interesting was what she didn't say. When reporters asked if she'd heard the story about Engelbert's alleged comment before Collier told it publicly, Clark shook her head no.
Well, I mean, first of all, I have great respect for Fee, and I think she made a lot of very valid points. And, I think what people need to understand, we need great leadership in this time across all levels. This is straight up the most important moment in this league's history.
When asked if Engelbert had reached out to her since Collier's remarks, again, no. That silence speaks volumes. If you're the commissioner of a sports league and one of your players publicly claims you made dismissive comments about your biggest star and you don't pick up the phone to talk to that star, something is broken in the relationship. The player support for Collier was swift and widespread. Aja Wilson, the league's MVP and arguably its biggest star, said she was disgusted by Engelbert's alleged comments. Angel Reese posted her support. Sophie Cunningham of the Phoenix Mercury went even further during her own exit interview, saying that a lot of people in positions of power in the WNBA might be great business people, but they don't know a thing about basketball, and that needs to change. She talked about how the physical nature of games had gotten out of control because of inconsistent officiating, and how players were essentially agreeing with each other on the court about how awful the referees were. When opposing players start bonding over their shared frustration with league management, you have a serious problem. Now, enter Adam Silver.
Yes. I mean, I think the share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
His initial comments came during a visit to NBC Sports headquarters in early October. He was there to discuss NBC's return to broadcasting NBA games and its plans to cover the WNBA Finals in 2026. But the conversation inevitably turned to the labor situation. Silver acknowledged that the WNBA is going through growing pains, which he said was unfortunate given that it was happening during the finals. He praised Cathy Engelbert for presiding over historic growth in the league, but then he said something revealing. There are issues that need to be addressed with the players, and they're not just economic. There are relationship issues as well. That word, relationships, is key. In labor negotiations, you expect to argue about money. That's the whole point. But when the commissioner of the parent league publicly acknowledges that there are relationship problems between the league and its players, that's an admission that the foundation itself is cracked. Silver went on to say he's confident they can fix these issues over time. But time is exactly what they don't have much of. The current extension runs through the end of November, and if they don't have a deal by then, the players can walk away with just 48 hours' notice. The financial stakes are enormous. The WNBA just signed a $2.2 billion media rights deal that kicks in next season. Franchise values have skyrocketed. Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever alone increased in value by 273% according to recent estimates, reaching a valuation of $335 million. The league is expanding from 12 teams to 18 by 2030. By any measure, this is a period of explosive growth. But the players are getting 9.3% of league revenue under the current contract. NBA players get roughly 50%. Now, the situations aren't directly comparable because the NBA generates far more revenue, but the players aren't asking for NBA-level percentages. What they want is a system where their compensation is directly tied to the league's performance, rather than being based on a fixed salary cap.
We are not asking you to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking you to get paid the same percentage of revenue, shared.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Got it. So that's a huge misconception.
That's a huge misconception.
Got it. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, because every video is like, oh, this person gets paid this person gets paid that, right?
So I want to be really clear about that. Like, I don't think I should get paid the same as LeBron.
They want to share in the growth they're helping to create. Adam Silver tried to frame this differently in a later appearance on NBC's Today Show. When asked if WNBA players should be getting a larger share of revenue, he initially said yes, then backtracked and said that percentage share isn't the right way to look at it. Instead, he suggested people should focus on absolute numbers, on what the players will actually make. He promised they'd get a big increase, and they deserve it. The Players Association responded by posting his comments on Instagram with a pointed question. Don't you want to share? Former NBA player Derek Fisher, who was president of the NBA Players Union during the 2011 lockout, offered some perspective during his appearance as an NBA analyst. He said it was rare to see a player express themselves the way Collier did during negotiations, but he understood why. Fisher, who also coached in the WNBA, said he could sense that WNBA players feel they haven't been valued enough, and there's a real disconnect with league management. He pointed out that high-stakes negotiations often reach a level of distrust and miscommunication, and there's an adversarial nature to the process until both sides come back together. The question is whether they can come back together this time. The league has reportedly offered significant salary increases. Reports suggest maximum contracts could reach around $850,000, up from the current $249,244, with minimum salaries potentially jumping to around $300,000 from the current $66,079. Those are meaningful raises, but the players are holding firm that it's not just about the money. It's about charter travel for all teams, not just some. It's about better facility standards across all franchises. It's about retirement benefits. And yes, it's about feeling valued and respected by the people running the league. What makes this situation particularly delicate is that both sides genuinely need each other right now.
That he addressed the revenue issue when he said sharing of revenue is not the right way to look at this because there is so much more revenue in the NBA. What he's referring to is that there are people in the WNBA, lawyers, players, executive council members.
The WNBA is experiencing a golden moment. Caitlin Clark's rookie season brought unprecedented attention to the league. Viewership was up across the board. Merchandise sales soared. This is the moment the league has been building toward for 27 years. A work stoppage now would be catastrophic, potentially squandering momentum that might never come back. But the players know they have leverage precisely because of that momentum. They're the ones creating the value. They're the ones fans are paying to see. And if they feel disrespected or undervalued by leadership, this is their moment to demand change. The fact that someone like Napheesa Collier, who's been relatively measured and professional throughout her career, felt compelled to make such a strong public statement suggests the frustration runs deep. Adam Silver's confidence that a deal will get done might be genuine, or it might be the kind of thing you have to say publicly even when you're worried privately. The extension gives them breathing room. But extensions don't solve the underlying problems. They just postpone the reckoning. The WNBA stands at a crossroads. On one side is unprecedented growth and opportunity. On the other is a labor dispute complicated by what Silver himself called relationship issues. Whether they can resolve both the economic questions and repair the trust that's been damaged remains to be seen. What's clear is that the next few weeks will determine not just what the players get paid, but whether the league can maintain the momentum it's worked so hard to build. What do you think? Can the WNBA and its players find common ground? Or are we headed for a work stoppage? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to stay updated on where this story goes, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.